Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Anthony Baker, or Pastor Baker, or Brother Anthony, whatever you want to call me, or as they know me on Discord, on the Faith Chat server of Discord, Dr. Watch. And the reason is because I like watches, and I have a lot of different watches. This one happened to be a 1974 Timex electronic. Can you see that one? Okay. Hey, but anyway, what you're about to watch is a PowerPoint presentation that I have updated, that updated on top of what I had shown at church a couple of Sundays ago about my trip that I took to Pakistan. I went to Pakistan for several reasons, which I will show you, but I also took a lot of photos and video of which I want to share in a presentation to help you understand what is going on in Pakistan and the ministry that's available there to support. And so I was not able to show this to everybody because when I showed it on Discord, not everybody was able to see it. And so this is an updated version recorded so that it can be shared. So I would encourage you, if you would, pass this on along to somebody else and let them know about this ministry that you're about to hear about, and be praying for us and support us any way that you can. So yes, I went to Pakistan, and believe it or not, I survived. A lot of people didn't think I would. My wife was very worried about me going, and I was not, because I knew God was on my side and I was not going to fear, and I did not fear. I was not afraid the whole time I was there. The only time I had any kind of nervous feelings was when I was leaving and I was by myself at the airport and some weird things started happening that I was suspicious of, but it all worked out. God was with me and I got back home safely. Didn't get back home perfectly well, but I got home safely. Now, but I did go to Pakistan. What you see here in this slide is me standing inside of a brick kiln where bricks are made, and this has a lot to do with the story I'm about to tell you. But I went to Pakistan. A lot of people, however, do not know where Pakistan is. They do not know any history about Pakistan, and so let me share with you a little bit about that. Pakistan is a nation that used to be a part of the country of India. I'll turn on my little laser thing. Here's India, here's Pakistan. All this used to be part of India up until the 1940s when it separated and became a separate Muslim nation. And that is the difference. India is primarily Hindu, while Pakistan is entirely, with the exception of a few small percentage points, Muslim. To the north and the west is Afghanistan. To the north and the east is China. China is an ally of Pakistan, and Afghanistan somewhat is, but the Taliban is running Afghanistan, and some of the Taliban have come over into the northern parts of Pakistan, but that is not where I was. I was down in this area, so it wasn't quite as dangerous, even though it wasn't exactly totally safe. I went to Pakistan with two main objectives. There were two things that I wanted to accomplish while in my trip there. The first thing was to, where is it? There we go. The first thing was to see the work of Grace Charity Schools with my own eyes. And why is that? And what is that? Well, Grace Charity is a school, two campuses, one in Toba Tek Singh, another one in Kamalia, that were started by a pastor friend, Brother Victor Samuel, and his sister. And their goal was to reach the children, the poor children in the area, primarily those from the brick kiln villages. And this work has been going on now for 11 years, and I've been trying to support it and help support it by getting money there. But a lot of people are wondering, is this legitimate? Was it real? And I felt that it was, but you know, how would I know for sure unless I went? And I knew that if I did go, it would definitely help other people to put their faith in this ministry as legitimate and be willing to give their funds. But the other reason that I went was because I wanted to encourage local pastors, local ministers, and believers there by sharing encouraging words from the Bible, giving them a boost to their faith, and, just letting them know that people in America were aware of their situation and we did care. And I just wanted to take Jesus to them and encourage them in some way. And for the pastors to maybe share something with them as an experienced, veteran pastor, to give them something that they could chew on and help in their ministry. But, while I was there, like I said, we had to take it seriously. And here's a couple of the guys that were my security detail at different times. So what did I see while I was in Pakistan? You could say, what did I see besides the things that I was expecting to see? Well, to begin with, I went to the immigration office. Ironically, I had to go to the immigration office because after being postponed, my flight being postponed, and had to get it all redone because of my visa not being correct, I get there and they don't know how to download or to get my visa from the new electronic way of doing things. And so they sent me to the immigration office to stand there by myself and wait until, they gave me the word that I could leave the airport. And if you'll notice something about this, though, I include a video. This place was definitely infested with lots of German cockroaches. It was not good. They didn't think anything about it, but they were crawling out of this garbage can like crazy. As you can see, they were everywhere. And it was gross. But there were other things that I saw, not just roaches on the walls. And honestly, that was the only place I ever saw that. But the other thing that I saw was a lot of traffic. And I can tell you this from a fact. There is nothing like this in America. And that was a joke. Is there something like this in America? No, not really. Because we actually have laws of the road, rules of the road. There's none here. The only rule of the road is that the bigger the vehicle has the right of way. And you can watch the video and see what I'm talking about. Notice the big bus coming in the middle of the road.
कराचियों एडी दूरों रेड़ दे आया भाजी ते इत्थों भी रेड़ दी
ਉਹ ਕਰਾਚੀ ਸਿਰਫ 10 ਕਿ ਘੰਟੇ 10 ਕਿ ਮਿੰਟ ਚ ਲਵਾਈ ਹੈ ਕੋ
ਬੜੀ ਤਬੀਅਤ ਖਰਾਬ ਸੀ
ਹਾਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਦੇ ਢੂੜਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਇਹਨੇ
ਉਸਤਾਦ ਦੇ ਸ਼ਾਗਿਰਦ ਨੇ ਚਲਾ ਲਈ
This is all sugar cane right here.
ਲੁਧਿਆਣੇ ਕੋ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਏ ਅਸੀਂ
Yeah. And if you were likely to see traffic coming at you head on, when you got down into the village roads, you were just as likely to see something else. Walking hamburger.
How are we going to get through this?
ਓਏ ਆ ਕੀ ਰਜ਼ਾ
ਹਾਂਜੀ
ਓਏ ਆ ਕੀ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਮਾਮਾ
ਵੀਡੀਓ ਪਾ ਦੇ ਚਾਚਾ
And the cows.
even the baby cows
Baby cows.
there
That's Brother Victor talking.
ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਕੁਝ
ਚਰਵਾਹਾ ਵੀ ਦਿਖਾਓ ਜੀ
Now, go ahead, ask me. Do they have this in America?
do you have this in America
No. Only out maybe in the West.
But then there were the average traffic jams, the regular roads where the shops are and everything. And you can see just in this video that you're about to watch, every little thing you bought seemed to have its own shop. There were not very there were very few places where you could go to buy multiple things like a mall, or there were no Walmarts or anything like that. So where we were, most everything was sold in little shops. And if you notice here, the number one mode of transportation is a red Honda motorcycle, a red 70cc on average Honda motorcycle. This was the main source of transportation for individuals and families unless they were riding in the back of a taxi.
Okay.
Ball.
If I just write in the status, Sister Valley may notice.
I just told him
If I
the
just don't
ping
say
pong ball
anything,
joke.
I just write ping pong ball. What was she saying? She may be mad at me. Hello? Hello? ਭਾਜੀ ਦੱਸ ਦੇ ਨਾ
There's no traffic lights.
ਹਾਂਜੀ
You just pull out into traffic.
ਭਾਜੀ ਪਾਰਕਾਂ ਚਿੱਟਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਚੱਲਾ ਚਿੱਟਿਆਂ
And the horn is not to say, I don't like you, get out of my way. It is just a warning to let you know, or let someone know that you're coming up behind them, beside them, to sort of move over because a bigger vehicle's coming. The only rule of the road that I could determine was the larger vehicle has the right of way. Pedestrians do not have the right of way. Some other things that I saw was just the typical construction, the buildings, everything was just dirt, brick, and mud for the most part, and it all looked the same. Here is this is Brother Wasim Samuel. This is Victor Samuel's brother. Here is the van, which is the bus, quote unquote, that is for the school, that is used to transport children. But we were carrying the whole crew around in it for our going to do the different ministry stuff for the school and everything too. But this is actually the entranceway into Brother Victor Samuel's house, of which the second story is where the church is, where they meet. And then the third floor is another living quarters where I actually stayed. But this is one little one-way alley. On the other side are cows and buffalo that are milked every morning. And this is where I stayed. This is just a view on top of one of the buildings that we were visiting. Actually, this is in a town called Georgia, and this is the top looking down from the roof onto that village. My wife is talking in the other room. She's doing some tax work. I don't know why there's no audio to this, but there's not. So, like I said, I was going to check out the Grace Charity School and make sure that everything we were told about it was legitimate. And I can say that everything is. It's all above board. And there are some nuanced things about things being done in a country like Pakistan that we would not necessarily do here in America. But those things are for a deeper conversation. But other than that, essentially, everything is done the way we've been told and we should expect, because they are definitely doing the work of the Lord. So I visited the main campus of Grace Charity, and this is in Toba, Texas. Here we are driving in the school bus, which again is a Toyota van, and we are driving into the community where the school is located. As a matter of fact, one thing about this is that recently money was donated to purchase property across from the school, which we will drive by as we are. No, we don't. It'll be to our right. As we're going up to the school, you'll see the school. I'll pull up my little highlighter again. This is the school right here, and this is the entrance. It's covered by tents and stuff like that because this is the day that they had the fun day. So out in the parking lot area, there is fun and games being done. And but to the right, over this area right over here, this property was just bought so that they can make sure that no other businesses that were Muslim would be able to move in and be too close to the school to cause some problems. So praise the Lord for that. Here what we see is inside, after all the tents and all that other stuff was taken down. This is later. Matter of fact, on my last day there, notice the Jesus is Lord on a bus in a Muslim country. That's bold. But this is where the school is, the main campus. Classrooms are on first and second floor. There's the principal's office and the little canteen where you can go buy stuff, if you can buy stuff. And here I am giving the camera to Brother Victor and doing my little happy here I am dance. Here we are at the school. Come follow me where they teach the rules. You had to have some fun, you know. Look at all those little children. And I don't know who this guy is, but these are two little brochures, one for each of the schools that he was telling me about. This video is when we went up to the top of the school and looking down from the roof into the village. This is the property here that was bought. They now have the Title IV. And the community is well aware of what the school is doing. Even though the majority of them are Muslim, they are very supportive of what the school does because of the impact that it makes. I did have the chance to visit different classrooms and get to actually witness the teachers teaching, and they do a good job. And they give everything they have to teach these children. As a matter of fact, they sacrifice themselves because their pay is only about $40 or $60 a month. And yes, you heard me right, correctly. That is only a month, $60, if that. And but that is all that they can afford to be paid, and that's all they take. But they definitely could be paid more. But they still show up and teach these children. Now there was a fun day, like I said, and I was welcomed as a special guest on that day, and we had a really good time. As a matter of fact, while I was on stage there at that moment, I had to turn around and take a selfie with a big old smile. And that's Brother Victor there with me, and look at all those happy little children. This was a very, very big special day for them. Here I am with some kids. You know, I had a lot of pictures with children. They just wanted to be having their picture made with the American guy. Here I am wearing, traditional clothing, and they're dressed to the hilt because this is a special day. The best clothes they can find. This is what they're wearing, and the little merry-go-round in the back. Oh my goodness, that would not pass here in America. They would be shut down for safety reasons, but by golly, they were having fun on it. Here's another view of the fun day. Notice that I'm sitting down there to the left, just interacting with all the happy children. Like I said, children and adults were wanting to have their picture made with me. And at one point we got the bright idea, well, if you're going to have pictures, stand in front of the sign. Now in the next few photos, what you're going to see is that it was not all just me going and playing games, but we did do some serious work, and that my goal, like I said, was to see that everything was legitimate and also to encourage. And so Brother Victor did take me to his office, and we reviewed paperwork showing different government documents and how they keep track of everything, you know, just to show that everything was legitimate, that they keep records and all that good stuff like any public school would. And then I also had a meeting with all of the staff, the teachers, and such, hearing, you know, talking with them and sharing our thoughts, how we'd like to try to help support them, but also their needs. And we also got to talk with the principal, vice principal, director of the school. And so, you know, got to get a lot of insight. But like I said, there were two campuses, not just the one in Toba Tek Singh, but also in Kamalia. This campus was started not too long ago, and it was the first Christian school in the area of Kamalia since as a matter of fact, it was the first school that was not a Muslim school in this area. And so this is a very important, groundbreaking ministry. But these children here are some of the most precious. One of my favorite pictures here too, man. You look at that little boy on the left. We wanted to take him home. I wish I could. I would adopt him if it was possible, but they won't allow us to do that. We can't take children from Pakistan. And but anyway, I was wondering who is going to win that little girl right there, the one on the left or the one on the right. I think the little guy on the left should. But these children, I got to speak to them. Brother Victor interpreted for me, of course. And this is the school that you see here. I mean, what you see in this room here, this is all one big meeting room. There is a room back here in the back. And over where you can't see behind is the principal's office. That is the school. And all of these children meet there. Now, there is an upstairs area, but it was really unsafe. And that proved to be an issue because just last week, as of this, which was just, you know, a month or so after I returned, the roof fell in. No children were injured, but the termite damage was so bad that the roof fell in, and so they had to find another place to meet. But while I was there, I also got to feed the children, and they were excited about that. We had a big pot of rice here that we dipped out in these little plates, and they would just eat with their fingers. Very happy to have the food. And I also got to give them all pennies. I gave every one of them a penny so that they could remember my visit there and that Americans did care about them. But also to tell them about, I told them about being seeds. Behind me right there, it was a big poster of a seed and how a seed has a tree, that is, and has roots and how the branches spread out. And I said, every large tree started out as a little tiny seed, but then it grew up to be a tree, and now its branches are there to support and to encourage and to bring shade and nourishment to many, many other people. And so I said, every one of you are just like little seeds here in Pakistan. Right now you're small, but God can grow you and use you, make you into a tree that makes more seeds. And before long, all of Pakistan could be covered with a forest of trees just like you. Now I have other video and other pictures that I don't have in this PowerPoint, but this is just one photo of when we were in a shoe store, and thanks to gifts from you guys here in America. As a matter of fact, this whole trip was funded by people who gave money to me to go, and I brought back literally only about $30 worth of souvenirs, period. And everything else that you sent went to buying food, for transportation, for gas, for security, for transportation of pastors going to pastors' conferences, so many different things. And in this case, we put shoes on 37, I believe, children who do not have school shoes. And some of these were just wearing little tiny half-size flip-flops. And this was such a huge blessing to be able to do that. And I was sitting there because I was terribly sick and did not feel well. As I mentioned earlier, there were two objectives. One, to verify the legitimacy of the school, the ministry, Grace Charity Schools, but also to encourage the ministers and fellow believers there. And so that is what we did also, and I'm very thankful and very happy to say that I believe that was a very much a success. One of the things that we did was that we went first off to Brother Victor Samuel's church, and I said earlier, as I showed in the building where the church and the house and all that was, this is the second floor of where he lives. That is a church. And so this is an average crowd. But as you can see, there are a lot of young people, women, but there are men. There wasn't many there this day, but there are men. And he has such a ministry there. Keep in mind, too, that Brother Victor is only 35 years old. And he is doing a wonderful job. One of the most difficult things that we did was to go to the brick kilns. I wanted to see the brick kilns in person. I wanted to see them with my own eyes. I wanted to go there. I'd heard about them. And this is definitely the foundational reason for the whole ministry to begin with, because it is from these brick kiln villages that the children come that go to Grace Charity School, both campuses. And, but we need to sort of get the word out as to what these brick kilns are. So, the question is, what are the brick kilns? Well, the best way to describe that is to first think about Egypt. Okay? When you think about Egypt, what do you think about? Well, you might think about pyramids or the Nile. But from a biblical standpoint, what do you think about? The first thing that will come to my mind were the children of Israel who were slaves in Egypt before the Exodus. And what is it that they made? They made bricks. Do you remember the story in Exodus, how that they were forced to make bricks and make more bricks as Moses was making Pharaoh more angry with each request to let the children of Israel go. So he had them make bricks and make even more bricks. And so when they were out there doing this, it was very hard work, as you can imagine, because it was all manual labor. Now, not only was it manual labor, hard work, nothing automated, but we have the record in the book of Exodus where the people of Israel were beaten and mistreated by the Egyptians, essentially their slave owners. And you know what? It's not much different today in Pakistan.
Hello, brothers. This is Pastor Victor Samuel. We had a very wonderful service here today. The bricklaying, the sun is so bright. As you can imagine, it seems like that you are living in a oven. It's a very hot here, no wind blowing, and it's hard to even breathe in this hot. But these brothers and sisters have to work so hard in this heat, and let alone, they work at the chimney where they make the bricks. It's itself already so much hot, but plus the sun is so hot here. You can see the families, even their children, little children have to come here with their parents so they can work. It's so devastating situation of our brothers and sisters in Pakistan. Please guys, keep supporting us as we are reaching out to these families. And I'm going to do soon a video documentary on the situation of child labor here. We are doing the here the program of schools where the children are getting their formal and their spiritual education, and we want to tell you that we are coming over here tell them and motivate them that how important the education is for their children. So please keep praying and keep supporting us, and we love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Here you see, like I said, carrying the clay out, dumping it to where the bricks are actually formed. And then you'll see a guy here to the right actually forming bricks from the clay. Here's a little bit more. 1 brick at a time. 1,000 bricks a day. And when he said it was hot out there, the average temperature in Pakistan is 114 degrees Fahrenheit a day. Child labor. Like I said, here's some photographic evidence of children having to work just stacking bricks. And here's a family. There's Brother Victor, myself, the family, and then another brick kiln worker who helped us guide us around while we were there. But this whole family lives in just one room and an outdoor courtyard and works in the kiln. What you're looking at now is when, matter of fact, those 2 guys went with us and did video and photography. But what you're looking at now is we're going into the village right next to the particular brick kiln that we're visiting, where they're making the bricks. And this is the living quarters. These are like a little apartments where families are forced to live. Several things that you should notice that I noticed is that just look at the brick construction for one thing. Notice that these bricks are really just stacked on top of each other. I don't see much any mortar. It might be stuff that was on the outside, but other than that, not much. So I wondered how safe these structures actually were. But, you know, they look like they're ancient, but how old are they actually? Now here I am going inside one that's empty. And this one particular room is, you know, the living quarters where you would actually stay inside out of the weather. It was damp, which was hard to imagine. Definitely musty, did not smell well. But this is where a whole family would live. All they would have be inside this one room. This is where they would all sleep if they stayed inside. But then outside is the courtyard area, and that is where they do everything else. This is where they would possibly sleep when it's not during the rainy season. This is where they would cook. This is where they would socialize. This is where they would rest. This is just where they would do life when they're not working. And this is it. And as I was explaining in this video, which does not have audio for some reason, you know, the poorest of the poor in America have no idea how blessed they are, because there is nothing like this in America. Because in America, at least, you do have some sort of safety net, even Social Security, food stamps, food banks. You have hospitals that take people with no charge when they come into the emergency room. There's nothing like that in Pakistan. And so a family literally can be put into enslavement like this over nothing more than an $125 debt. Nothing like that in America. Now what you're seeing here is where Brother Victor and I and the camera guys are actually going up on top of a brick kiln. And what is important about this is that this is where, this is hot. This is on top of where the bricks have been covered up, and the furnace is being heated by coal, and heat is blown into the bricks, and this is how they're baked. So what you're really looking at is one huge oven. that we're walking on top of. And they're telling me, you know, be careful, watch where you step, because there are holes there. Now, here is where actually these are being vented. Those metal caps that you see on the ground, you see these little things here, these little metal caps, those are, you know, little vents. And you'll see a man come up now with a tool, and notice that he's walking in just sandals or flip-flops. He's going to walk around here and he's going to open these up so that we can see the flames coming from inside. And this is going to be important for you to note, so keep this in mind. You can imagine how hot that is. Each one of those cast iron little lids there have to be, you know, terribly, terribly hot, red hot to probably. I mean, just very hot. And like I was telling another person, or several people, I said, this is like the closest place to hell on earth I could imagine. And then there's the coal that is used to put down in these holes to make it burn hotter. All right, let me introduce you to a couple. I don't know their names. You could look it up. You could Google it. But this family, I believe it was in 2017, this husband and wife in their 20s, she was pregnant. The wife was accused of desecrating the Quran. Now, over there, all it takes is some accusation, and then them blasting it from the speakers with the same speakers that they give out that are called to prayer 5 times a day and sing out the prayers, which I'm not going to try to make fun of, but they're very irritating to hear 5 times a day. However, I believe it was Barack Obama who said that they were comforting when he was listening to them one time. Different story altogether. But these 2 young Christians, once they were accused of desecrating the Quran, a crowd came to their house and dragged them out and beat them and then broke their legs. And what did they do next? Well, remember the brick kilns that we just looked at? They took them to the top and burned them alive. Yes, they took them up there with broken legs and threw them out on top of where all those little caps were and let them die there, forced them there to burn them alive. The wife, because she was not catching fire, reports like in The Guardian and on CNN, BBC that reported this, said that they pulled her off, wrapped her in something more flammable so that she would catch fire quicker, and then put her back onto the fire. What type of demonic evil would make people do this? Well, guys, I'll let you answer that. But let's put things in perspective, shall we? Here I am standing with Brother Victor, and we are speaking to people at the brick kiln that we were visiting in a service. We had a church service there. And these people, these family members, all live there on the property where this kiln is. And we are surrounded by a tent that is very colorful and looks like something that you would see a wedding take place in. And that is for a reason, because people driving by down the road, if they were to see that a church service was going on inside, a Christian church service, their lives would be put in danger. And so if you will notice, the curtain in the back, that part faces the road. It was kept closed. Even when we came through, it was very, we had just pulled back a little bit to let us in. And that was just because we couldn't afford to let people see from the road what was going on. That's dangerous. Let me ask you, what would it take to keep you from church? That's a funny question, isn't it? Because anything will keep people from church in America. I mean, seriously. But would you still come to church if you knew that you had that you were running the risk of being shot, burned alive, beaten, persecuted in some way? Would you still come? Well, guess what? These people are there, and they're there knowing the risk. Why are we so flippant, and why are we so careless, and why are we so spoiled when it comes to coming to church? You know, to worship with other believers. Do you see the point here? They are gathering together to hear the word of God, to be encouraged, and to encourage others by being there together. That's the whole reason we come to meet. And what a privilege it was for me to be able to preach and encourage these folk. Now, what did I tell them? What could I say to them to encourage them in their situation? Well, I wasn't preaching a prosperity gospel, I can tell you that much. But what I did preach was how every little thing that they do not for a master here, but for a heavenly master, because the Bible says that whatsoever you do, you should do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men. That our master, that we are truly servants of, is in heaven, Jesus Christ. And so what he sees is what really matters. And he is watching, and he's watching even the ones that are there in the brick kilns, the managers, the owners, and all that too. He's watching. But also, all work is sacred because we're all doing it for God. Whatever it is, we just do different things. And even making bricks is holy work when you look at it that way. And so we should do our best to be a witness to others, including those people that persecute us. And while we were there, this is the water that they brought out to us. This is the best they had. The water right here, that's what they drink. This water over here is what we brought with us. Something else that was interesting was the fact that not only did I get to pray for a lot of people, I mean, everywhere I was at, everywhere I spoke, everywhere I visited, people wanted me to lay hands on them, to pray for them. And guys, I'm just a Christian, just a preacher. I'm not I don't have healing in my hands, but I do serve a God who heals. I do serve a God who delivers. And it was up to him to do what he was going to do. It wasn't up to me. And so when I was asked to pray, I prayed. And I was also asked to pray over things like water and oil. And this was foreign to me. This was not something that I was used to. And quite frankly, I do have a little bit of issue with it when it comes to the biblical context of how it is in Scripture and the meaning of it and how it should be applied today. But when I was there, what else was I supposed to do but to pray over these things? People would take water, ask me to pray for this bottle of water so they could take it back to a sick loved one, or a bottle of oil. And the reason is because, guys, some of the number one elements that they had over there was fever, diabetes, high blood pressure, and they didn't even have simple things like aspirin and Tylenol and things like that to relieve pain, to relieve fever. And so this was the best medicine they could get. What was I supposed to do? Say, no, I can't do this? No. I just gave it to God and prayed over it. But one of the most touching things was when this woman over here came and brought me this oil, of which I just fell to my knees to pray over, guys. I mean, there was just nothing else I could do. I was just overwhelmed by the magnitude of this, that this woman here was not a Christian. She was Muslim. And she was bringing this bottle of oil to this Christian preacher to pray for because her husband back home was very sick. And no one that was Muslim, the leaders in her Muslim world, cared enough to show any compassion. But she knew that a Christian minister would. And so she brought that with the hopes that my prayer to my God would do something to help her husband. What does that say? What does that say about they shall know us by our love? Folks, if we live the life the way we're supposed to and preach the gospel the way we're supposed to and love people the way we're supposed to, the world will see a difference. Oh, and back to coming to church. Here's another church service that we had in a brick kiln village. And I want you to notice that there are no pews, there's no air conditioning, there's no roof. But there are people there worshiping God. And when they worshiped, they truly lifted their hands, sang, praised God, cried, had a wonderful time of fellowship. And folks, most people in America, you would have to be, it's like pulling wisdom teeth. You know, it is so difficult to get people to come to church, yet these people came when they have little of or nothing like what we have by way of facility. And those of us here, if you were to tell people, hey, I would like you to come to church this Sunday. You've been out of church for a while. Why not come visit and come back and get involved? Well, I don't know. What if you told them, hey, guess what? We don't have a roof because it fell down, and we don't have any more places to sit. You're going to have to sit on carpets on the floor that are dirty, and we don't have any kind of air conditioning or anything like that. But hey, we would love for you to come. Do you think they would show up? Well, you can pack a house here, because people want to hear about God, and they will do it even when their safety is threatened. And did I mention, I prayed for a lot of people. But not only pray, we got to do some baptizing. Because people do get saved over there, believe it or not. And as a matter of fact, since the ministry, this is now April, from the beginning of the year until now, they have seen over 40 people come to know the Lord and be baptized. But look where we got to do the baptizing. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Be ducked down into that water of which we have no idea what is in it. And it was cold, and cool, and it was rushing, and we had to hold them by the armpits so they didn't wash away. and all the time I'm hoping, don't get in my mouth. Whatever this stuff is, don't get in my mouth. So remember how I said I wanted to encourage the ministers? Well, we did 2 pastor conferences and in different towns. And this is the banner that they took and hung up inside the churches where we met. And the funny thing about this, folks, is that the picture of me is one they pulled off of Facebook and from my Facebook page. And you know how I say I'm Dr. Watch? Well, I like watches. And this particular photo I did myself just as sort of like a joke. I was being a little facetious, and the purpose was to show off the watch, And they saw that picture and thought that was adequate to use as the main one for Reverend Dr. Anthony Baker, I think maybe some of them were a little disappointed that I was not more theologically controversial while I was there. They expected me to bring up some things for them to argue about, and I really didn't much. So now the video that you're watching now is a little 1 minute or 2 minute video that was prepared by the team that went around and filmed us. And I wish you could hear the audio, but it's not really necessary. It's just some really cool music. But this shows in the first pastors conference that we had, there were over 70 pastors that were there from different villages. Many of them we paid $10 a piece just so they could get transportation to come in for the day. And we fed all of them. And again, that is money that you donated. That's where it went to, was for these types of things, paying for the interpreters, praying for security, praying for food, paying that is, for all of these things. But I had the opportunity to truly share some good messages there and to encourage them. And we had a lot of good response. It was really a blessing for me, but I believe it was a blessing for them too. Notice that men and women, for the most part, sit on one side or the other. Now here they are outside eating, and it was just a great time. While we were in this one village, and Georgia is where it was, this is walking into Georgia, that is. We were shown the streets, and this is a little bit before the next picture shows me going in, and everywhere we went, they would throw flowers at us, little rose petals. At one point, I took a handful of one of from one of these plates and threw back at the little girls that were throwing it at me, and they had this shocked look on their face, like, "What did you do that for?" I don't know if I did something culturally inappropriate, but it was fun because to actually throw flower petals back at somebody they didn't expect that. And then when we got inside this particular church, it looked almost like we were on a dating game show, I thought. And 3 bachelor pastors, fixing to meet the girl of their dreams. No, not really. But it did have that feel of the look of a set from a 1970s dating game show, doesn't it? But this particular church was, like I said, in the town of Georgia. And in 2009, the whole town was burned to the ground. A crowd, a mob of anywhere from 10 to 20,000 upset Muslims came into this town and did horrible things, burned down, including the church that we were ministering in that day, burned that church down along with all the homes and everything else in that village. And this particular place that we're standing in front of now, you can see all this artwork. This right here, these were windows, and they all been bricked up and painted over. What this was the first house that really got firebombed, and 7 people, I believe, were burned alive inside, all Christians, because they wouldn't come out, so they threw firebombs, Molotov cocktails on the roof, and they died inside. So since then, this house has been preserved as a memorial to them. Now, as we wrap this presentation up with a few more slides, I want to show you a few things, random stuff, just some other things that I thought you would probably enjoy seeing, like where we ate and, barbers and things like that. First off, this was so common that we would, in between meetings and stuff, we would go to a pastor's house or somewhere else, in a church, and we would eat in the bedroom. And, here in America, I don't know if people would really think too kindly about saying, "Hey, come on over. We're going to sit in the master bedroom and we're going to eat there. Just everybody come on over. And we're not just going to eat around the table. Or the bed. We're going to eat on the bed. Just bring all the dishes and everything, your best, china and silverware, and just put it here on the bed, and this is where we'll eat." Well, that's what they did. Now, fortunately, these mattresses were a little bit more firm, because some of the ones that we have here in America, I think everything would have flipped over by moving around, but not there. But this was definitely an intimate way, very biblical, I could say, very definite Middle Eastern way of eating together and fellowshipping. But one interesting thing that happened was that they called in a barber to come to the house, because they says, brother, it's like, do you need to have your head shaved? I'm like, well, I normally do it myself. And you do what? And so they actually called the barber to do a house call. And the thing that made this fun was that this guy was a Muslim and I'm a Christian. And there's a little bit of, what happens when you get a straight razor and a Muslim and a Christian together? That was sort of the tension in the room. So I was told everything would be okay. Everything will be okay. But the really funny thing is that he did a great job. I got a scalp massage and all that too. Hey, we ended up having a photo together. He wanted the photo so he could put it on the wall of his barbershop so that he could tell people he was an international barber. And then here I am with one of those Honda motorcycles, wishing I could have taken it for a spin. Now here's a little bit of TMI, FYI. For your information, probably a little bit too much information. When I was told that you didn't use toilet paper, or when you did use toilet paper in Pakistan, you threw it in the trash, but you didn't put it into the toilet, I was a little bit put off because I was thinking, that's nasty. But it got even more interesting when I went to the restroom and was shown what you actually do. And but before I show you that, this was an executive restroom that I was able to go to on the way to the airport before I left. And this is one you had to pay to go into, and it was super nice compared to some other ones which were just a hole in the ground. But here is the executive restroom. Notice that it has toilet paper over here. Not every restroom had toilet paper, but every restroom had one of these, a spray nozzle. And what you did was that when you did your business right here, you would take this nozzle and do your own washing. You didn't need toilet paper except to dry off. And then you put it in the trash. Now, if that sounds weird and sounds gross, it might be, but I got used to it. And I'm thinking, I might just like to have one of these in my own house. Wasn't too bad after a while. Well, it was not Atlanta Hartsfield International Airport, but it was the airport I flew out of when I left Pakistan, and it's the one I flew into. So here we are walking in late at night. My flight literally was at 1:05 in the morning. So Brother Victor and several others brought me, walked me to the airport, stayed with me until I was past everything I needed to get past. And if I needed anything, they were outside waiting until I got on the airplane. And this was the last photo that I had with Brother Victor on the right and Brother Wasim on the left. Wasim is now in America. He is married to Bethany, and they live in Virginia, and hopefully they will be visiting with us soon down in Georgia. And then lastly, when I was at the airport in Qatar, I had to take a picture of the big lamp bear, which is creepy. I don't know what's supposed to be pleasant about this. This is a 20,000 plus pound metal creation. Looks like a stuffed bear, but yet it's got a lamp sticking through it. Just messed up is all I can tell you, but I had to take a picture of it. Well, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. And if you have any other questions or any questions at all that you would like to ask me about how to support the ministry of Grace Charity School and how to support fellow believers in Pakistan, then please feel free to give me a call or to email me. My email address is pastoracbaker@yahoo.com. My phone number is area code 423-645-8884. And you could also send correspondence to us at our church, Bethlehem Baptist Church, Post Office Box 85, and that is Worthen, Georgia, Warthen, and the area code is 31094. So God bless you. Again, thank you for your prayers and support, and may God bless whatever ministry you're in, and let's all try to reach the world with the gospel of Jesus Christ.